Let's go back to this story now that we brought you in the last hour. Over 200 students based in Russia are facing eviction and expulsion, they tell us, from their universities. This, they say, after the Mpumalanga Education Department allegedly failed to pay for their rent and tuition. 67 of these students are expected to complete their studies in June 2023. Let's hear now from the Mpumalanga Education Department, and Sipho Mkhabela joins us now from that department. Dr. Mkhabela, good evening. I've got to thank you for your time. Let me say to you, let's park this statement that you have issued as a department, because I have so many questions about it and I will be asking them. So let's for a moment park it and ask you in your own words, what is happening with these students who are out in Russia?
No, thank you, Sipho, for the opportunity to speak. Okay, thank you, Sipho, for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the department. I need to indicate to you, as you are asking, what is happening with our students in Russia. I've been watching your program since 4 o'clock. I must firstly indicate and correct this to say we had an implementing agent whose contract expired. It was not terminated, because termination and expiry, these are vast different things. They are not the same. The contract has expired. It is not terminated. Then I must indicate that currently the contract expired in March, but we advertised as a department in terms of the PFMA. When the contract is about to expire, you advertise and solicit new role players, as it is informed by the threshold that if ever the contract will be above so much, then you have to pay. You have to advertise. We advertise. Unfortunately, in terms of responses, we were not successful. Hence, then we re-advertised. Then that created a gap in terms of managing the program as we're having the implementing agent. But we didn't fold our arms as a department. What we did, we engaged different role players in trying to assist the student. We've managed to bring the student who graduated in Russia without an implementing agent. We've managed to bring students who are coming for research, and they have already gone back to Russia as a department, whilst we are trying to resolve the issue of being assisted. And also, we have to take into account the political landscape of Russia in the whole process. That it's not just a simple thing. There are different avenues that we have to explore. On behalf of the department, then, as led by the MEC and the HOD, senior management of the department, we acknowledge the challenges that our students are experiencing. The challenges in terms of delay of the payment, because we have opted to use our in-house system to pay them stipend, which is called BAS, which is a basic accounting system, and we are paying them.
So when you say you acknowledge the challenges, in your own words,
acknowledge the challenges.
In your own words, what are the challenges? The students are saying their tuition fees are not being paid and their accommodation is also not being paid, as well as the stipends. Are you acknowledging everything, or is it elements thereof?
Elements thereof.
Which ones? Which elements?
Which is tuition and accommodation.
How long have those gone unpaid?
It's almost from, it varies, because the academic year of Russia starts in September. It's almost 2 months now.
It's almost 2 months that the tuition fees and the accommodation for some of the students has not been paid. That's unacceptable, is it not? I mean, if you have a landlord in a foreign country where you are there studying on a good initiative of the South African government, and that relationship is not being managed, it still puts you in a difficult position, no matter how noble the intentions are of the department.
No, you are quite correct. I fully understand what you are raising. Seemingly, I'm missing you.
I'm here. I can hear you. So I'm saying that still puts the students in a difficult situation. If, let's say, at best, only 2 months of tuition fees and accommodation have not been paid, that's not good enough is what I'm suggesting to you.
No, I understand the concern you're raising, but what I have to indicate up front is that we are paying stipend. We have advised our students to say, in the meantime, we're trying to resolve the issue of tuition and accommodation, special accommodation. Those who are on flat or private residence, they can use their stipend, they will be then reimbursed. But those who are in the university residence, through our networks and using also the former implementing agent, we have engaged each university to say we are working on a program on how to pay. In terms of the Russian program, every tuition and accommodation has to be paid by the 15th of October. You must have paid at least 70% of that.
So
that's the arrangement of the Russian program.
So what do you say to students like Victoria Maheso, for example, whose landlord has told her that she needs to have paid by this coming Monday or else vacate the place where she's staying? What are you saying to her?
That case, I have to indicate upfront, say, that I've intervened on it. I got the information last week. I consulted the former implementing agent because he's on the ground. He knows Russia better than us. He intervened. There was an arrangement made with the landlord until we pay. There were arrangements made for that. There are 5 students in Sechenov, in Nizhny Novgorod, and Victoria. He's the only one in her university. But we managed to resolve. That's why she's not even on the street, because we intervened as government.
So come Monday, she won't be kicked out. And not just Victoria Maheso, other students in her position. Come Monday, they won't be kicked out, is what you are saying?
That I don't believe so. This is just an over-exaggeration.
Are you interacting with these landlords and universities directly, or are you leaving that to be the task of the students?
No, we do interact with them. We call them. We also use student leaders. Students have organized themselves with leadership, which is ever consulting us as department whenever there is a challenge in each and every university. If you refer to Victoria, she's the only one in her university.
Sure, let's not personalize it and leave it with one student. I'd like us to deal with all the issues. So you are saying you interact directly with the landlords and the universities. For instance, the lease agreements, are they signed by the students individually or are they signed with the department?
They are signed by the student individually. They come to us as a record to confirm that the student is staying in this place.
Do you have a representative on the ground right now as a Department of Education in Mpumalanga, considering the complexities of this situation, no implementing agent, which you used to have, students in a foreign country, a country that is involved in a conflict? As you say, the political dynamics as well are a bit different in the country as well, where different language is being spoken. And I imagine the students are sort of now adapting to that environment. But let's face it, if you are negotiating that you won't be able to pay your rental in Russian, it is a different ballgame altogether. You as a department, do you have someone on the ground?
Now, currently, what we are using, we are using DECO and our Russian embassy.
That's not an answer to the question. Do you have someone on the ground? Do you have someone on the ground as the Department of Education? No, as a department,
we don't have. We rely on state entities.
Why do you not have someone on the ground?
The question is that you have to, there's a process that we are busy with in terms of, as I'm talking to you, there is a delegation going to Russia next week to sort out also some of those things we are raising.
Let me suggest to you, Dr. Mkhabela, that you are, and this is the reason I said let's put aside your statement for an example. You are dragging your feet on this issue. The contract with the implementing agency, RACAS, expired in March, right, is what you are saying. You're saying the department had advertised in October 2021 for a replacement in anticipation of this contract coming to an end, and that you did not receive any responses, and you have re-advertised in October 2022. That's 12 months. that it has taken for you to re-advertise a contract where you saw that this agency that was very helpful for us, their contract is coming to an end, let's advertise, no responses, 12 months for you to re-advertise? That's not good enough.
No, we understand what we are raising, but the question is, in any advert, there are timelines and processes that you have to undergo in terms of adjudication.
I get that.
And you have to undergo all those government
There was
processes.
nothing to adjudicate. You're saying you received no responses. What were you adjudicating? You received no responses.
Yes, but it's a process.
What is the process?
The process in terms of doing that, you can't adjudicate without doing evaluation, firstly.
There's no adjudication where there's no response, is what I'm saying to you. And I'm saying to you, even if factoring in the complexities of the PFMA and ensuring that you do everything by the book, I'm saying to you, when I put out an advert and say I'm looking for someone to provide these services and no one responds, it can't take me a whole year to issue out another advert, especially knowing how critical the service is.
Contextualize. I said there was a poor response.
No, it says there was no response. It doesn't say there was a poor. It says, no, your statement says the department did not receive any responses. Any responses.
No, it was poor response. It's only one service for, bidder applied.
And then when you say you've increased the stipend for the students, you talk about how it went from 4,000 rand to 5,000 rand per month per students to mitigate the challenges that the students are experiencing as a result of the conflict involving Russia and Ukraine. You're saying that in the interim, while you are working to resolve the non-payment of the accommodation and tuition, the students should use their stipend to sort of offset the debts for accommodation. Are you being serious about that? 5,000 rand. 5,000 rand in Russia, in Moscow and in other cities. Are you really being serious that they should use that to offset what they owe?
No. The only thing that we did, we are not even paying, the stipend is 5,000, but we've paid 10,000 last month. Even yesterday, we paid 10,000 instead of 5,000.
Who got paid 10,000? Because Victoria Maheso tells me that her bank balance, she revealed it, it's negligible in terms of the amount involved. So who got paid 10,000 rand?
Not all of the students have been paid because we're using a bars system.
How many have been paid?
Let me explain. Let me take you through the process, because when you load it on Monday, it has to take 3 days in the system to appear in the account. In Victoria, as we are specific, it was not loaded on Tuesday. It's loaded on Wednesday. It will appear on the working day, which is Monday. That's how the government process works.
How many students have been paid their stipends, for example?
The only thing, we have to draw the report. The only thing that I know students have been paid yesterday, you can even check in their social media yesterday, some of them, they were even confirming that.
Sure, some of them, but how many? We're talking here 229 students that are part of this program. Some are back in South Africa doing online studies, and others are still there in Russia. So how many have been paid?
Out of the 229 students, yesterday, when I checked with my team, because I was not even in office because I was on sick leave, but I checked, more than 80 students have received their stipend, which means the batch that is remaining will have to receive on Monday, as it is informed when was it loaded on the system.
Let me leave you with this thought, Dr. Mkhabela. You as a department have been derelict and negligent in how you've handled what was a good initiative. Good initiative by the government, funded by the taxpayer, something that we should be commending, but you've mismanaged it. You have created the impression that some people may have that you cannot do anything competently as a government without relying on consultancies, this ruckus organization. The students are saying that they were like parents to them. You could call someone directly and get assistance. And now that it has fallen on your hands, you've botched it. What do you say to my suggestion?
No, thank you, Tulasizo. We appreciate the acknowledgement that is a good problem, but it doesn't mean that everything is bad. There are also good results in terms of the program, because we know very well as a department we have achieved. As I'm speaking to you, since we started the program, we've got 130 graduates on the same program. It's not a smooth sailing, especially under this political situation. We are trying our level best. We're not folding our arms as a department. We are trying our level best to make sure that the due date indicated by the Russian university, by the 15th, by the 14th, we need to have paid at least 70%. We are working day in and day out to meet that date.
All right. All right, Dr. Sipho Mkhabela.
There are good stories in
Yeah, well, you know, that's you're making the point that I was making, that there are good stories, except that, you know, when you botch the handling of the situation, you basically take away the credit that you should be getting. But I've got to thank you for your time.
It's a learning curve to last.
Well, learning curve, the students are facing possibilities of being thrown out. They are learning a difficult lesson that you can be let down by your own government.
That's why we don't sleep to last season.
All right. Well, yeah. All right. Thank you for that, Dr. Sipho Mkhabela. I've got to thank you for your time. He is from the Department of Education in Mpumalanga there, responding to the plight of the students who are out in Russia that we told you about. Let's go to